Dear ones, this week marks the 1-year anniversary when nearly all of our congregations moved to virtual operations. Anniversaries, particularly of tragic or traumatic events, impact us whether or not we consciously acknowledge them. I'm reminded of the words of Unitarian Universalist minister Max Kutz, who writes, "When holidays and holy days and such times come, when anniversaries arrive by calendar or consciousness, when seasons come as seasons do, old and known but somehow new, mark the time." And so it matters that we mark this time, the anniversary of a year like no other. So much grief, so many dear loved ones who've died, so much tragedy on a scale it is hard to comprehend. Anniversaries invite us to remember, and in a year like that, that is a heavy reality. If you are feeling fragile, grieving, depressed, forgetful, or just plain exhausted, know that you are not alone, that this is normal. It matters that we reach out when we are in need. It also matters that we give ourselves time to feel, to just be present to your emotions, to the grief and the loss. Be compassionate and gentle with yourself and with others. We are all mourning the collective trauma of this year, even as we still experience it, even as we still live with distance from loved ones, isolation, health risks, and unbelievable stress. As we mark this anniversary, we also remember all the ways that we have continued to say yes to our values, to one another, to life. Many of you have been on the front lines of the crises this year as doctors and nurses and essential workers, as chaplains and caregivers and pastors, as first responders, as religious educators and teachers, as organizers and community leaders, as artists and musicians, as loved ones and family. All saying yes to help people survive, to defend lives, to care for our children and young people, to bring reminders of beauty and grace to sustain us, to be present to those in their dying moments and to their loved ones in saying goodbye. So many of you and your communities as a whole have done so much to nurture life in this time of incredible loss. And it takes its toll. I pray that you may have moments of rest and love to renew your spirit. May you be held in the same grace and generosity in which you give. It is my hope that as we mark this anniversary, we will remember and acknowledge the sorrows, and that we will also acknowledge the things that we have learned about ourselves and about our faith. We learned more deeply what it means to center collective care and compassion in our ministries. We learned to more fully recognize our interdependence and prioritize the needs of those most vulnerable within and beyond our communities. We've extended our ministries beyond any walls, caring for our neighbors and wider communities and providing unprecedented access to our ministries online. We've opened our buildings to serve the community and save lives, to support the organizing and uprisings for racial justice. We've organized food pantries, first aid resources, homeless shelters, and distributed essential goods. We've leaned into our deep commitment to democracy, helping millions exercise their right to vote and playing a critical role in what was the largest, most accessible, and transparent election in U.S. history. We leaned into relationship across our congregations and wider association, partnering and sharing ministry like never before. We've been generous, innovative, courageous, imaginative, and loving at a time when that has been needed most. It is my greatest hope that this will have a lasting impact on our lives and our ministries. And while we have much to be proud of, many of us continue to experience real harm from this pandemic. Long-lasting illness, risks to our health, economic hardship, isolation, and grief. As we follow the hopeful developments, with greater numbers of people being vaccinated and the infection rates declining, now plateauing, may we remember to remain steadfast in our commitment to supporting the well-being of all people. And this means making decisions that reduce community spread. I know we are tired and grieving and long to be together. That day is coming. But it matters that we continue to follow the science and make decisions to support public health. As we mark this 1-year anniversary, so many things in our lives have changed. May we continue to lean more deeply into compassion and care. For these remind us that we are not alone, and they are practices that strengthen our sense of mutuality and belonging, our interdependence. And there are no more important practices or culture to develop in this time. May we continue to hold in love and care all of those who are suffering in this time. May we continue to be gentle with ourselves and our others, make room for our grief and what we are experiencing. And may each of us continue to be nurtured and supported by this faith and our communities that we hold so dear. Much love to all of you, and many blessings.